Water contamination by firefighting foam chemicals is playing havoc with residents living directly in its path. The list of regions now with polluted groundwater includes Auckland, Northland, Taranaki and Marlborough. Manawatu was meant to be the test case for how well officials handled the PFAS contamination countrywide. Instead, it's been a little like David in Gumboots versus Goliath in Gumboots. Phil Pennington and video journalist Richard Tindler went to Manawatu and compiled this report.
Here I am in the very pretty Bull's Domain. Right beneath my feet is one of the bores where they sample the water. And when they did that, they were surprised to find that the foam chemical contamination is in the reticulated town supply. The thing is, when I drink this, it's not acutely toxic. It's what the health authorities tell us. I'm not going to fall down dead on the spot right here. But every time I drink it, it's building up in my system with the chemical.
Over the nearby Rangatike River, the paddocks where Andy Russell has been running deer on the family farm for decades are as green as ever. But below the ground, the contamination is above safe drinking water levels.
There we go. So the black bits are manganese, but you can't see the PFAS compounds. They're in there, and that's what the problem's all about.
That chemical has changed everything for Liz and Bruce Kinlock. They thought they were gently winding down, exchanging dairy cows for beef cattle, when they moved back 12 years ago to the land her great-grandfather was the first settler on.
But it had meaning, being the land again. You love the land.
And love this particular bit of land.
Yeah, well, it meant something.
We've grown up here with the defence around all our life.
Yeah, it meant something to us.
Good land, says husband Bruce, for cattle, cropping, fattening, growing vegetables.
And is it still good now that you've got this contamination?
Scientists say it is, but I don't believe them.
What do you think?
I reserve my judgment.
I think it's been poisoned.
The trouble is, they share a fence with the Defence Force's Ohakea Air Base. They can still farm, but the leachate from the base has delivered a king hit to their options and to the value if they wanted to sell.
In the very beginning, it was very difficult to get any answers from Defence as to what was going to happen. And I mean, we're 8 or 9 months on and actually worse off because we're finding our tests are going up all the time, but not knowing where we're going.
We sought an interview with the commander at the Ohakea base. Instead, squadron leader Mike Wood met us at the airbase's security checkpoint.
Hi.
Mike Wood.
Hello, Mr. Wood. Phil Pennington, Radio New Zealand.
Gotcha. I've heard you on there.
I have you?
Once or twice, yeah.
Okay.
So what is it you're after?
Well, we've come up...
you're not recording?
We are recording.
Turn that off, please. Turn that off, please.
The squadron leader told us we couldn't come onto the base to film and that there was no one we could interview. Later, at a committee meeting of farmers at the Kinlock's home, uncertainty is high, but so too are hopes for quick action on a government-funded water scheme. However, the Manawatu District Mayor Helen Warboys poses the key question of why some tests show the level of chemicals is still rising.
Well, they've done 4 rounds of testing now, and we were told by the scientists right up front that this chemical moves in water and it flushes itself out with water. So you would have assumed, being a non-scientist, that after a year of testing we would have started to see some decline in the levels of chemicals in the testing, particularly on the properties directly beside the base. But that's not the case. In fact, we're still seeing high results of chemicals in the water. So you have to say, is that because we haven't isolated the contamination on site?
2 Environment Ministry officials are at the meeting but cannot answer her questions, even though that ministry is leading the government's PFAS response. Of the regions that Defence and industry have contaminated, Manawatu so far has the worst, if isolated, problem with PFAS in the drinking water itself. Whenuapai in Auckland is waiting on tests to see how bad its problem is. Wherever the chemical crops up, uncertainty is sure to follow, even for Andy Russell, who set up the local committee to negotiate with officials.
We've got the Defence Force doing the testing and controlling the testing, and they're the ones who've done the polluting. Inadvertently, not maliciously, that does seem a bit odd and does stick in the core of locals around here a little bit.
Still.
Yes, I'm afraid it does. Look, they're nice people, they're doing a job, and it's not personal, at least it's not for me, but yeah, it's just the system hasn't worked that well, I don't think. We've got one more test to go. We've had 3, one more test to go. What happens after that?
Do you know what happens after that?
No, I wouldn't have a clue.
The Kinloch community water scheme to tap into a deep bore of clean water far away looks likely and should solve most people's problems, but not theirs.
I think the hardest thing is you're just always dealing with a consultant.
We want to speak to people who are going to say, okay, we think this will happen and that will happen, so we can move on. You can't move on. You know, you go through things in your sleep at night, and sleep's very difficult at the moment. So it's always there looking at you. The joy's been taken away. Yeah.
For Checkpoint, Phil Pennington.